Frooglesim videos are powered by Jetline Systems.
Hello YouTube, this is Froogle, and these are the alloy Th2 and Th3 throttle quadrants from Redbird. Now, in case you've never heard of them, Redbird were founded in 2006, and they were actually named after a decaying Cessna 177 Cardinal. For those that don't know, in the US, a Cardinal is a red bird. They actually used the cockpit of that aircraft to build their first simulator. They've since obviously gone on, and today they are well known and a leading manufacturer worldwide of fixed base and full motion simulators. They've recently branched out into desktop simulation controllers, the idea being to bring the same level of quality that they have in their full-size simulators to the pilot at home. Now, Redbird were kind enough some months ago to send me their full line of desktop controllers, and we're going to start a series of reviews on them, starting here with these two throttle quadrants. Now, the Redbird alloy range are quite high-end, both in terms of price and build quality. Let's look at the price first. The Th2 over here, the 6-axis throttle quadrant controller, is $599. The Th3, the 3-axis controller over here for single-engine aircraft, is $569. But that's not all. Neither of these come with the equipment required to fit them to your desk. For that, you'll need to spend an extra $79, and Redbird will ship you these, which are actually pretty cool. They're clamps that bolt onto the side of the controllers and then clamp to the bottom of your desk, and they're very effective. But the good news is you probably don't need them. Before we get into the ins and outs of each set of controls, let's look at the physical bulk of these. These are huge, particularly when compared to something like the VirtualFly TQ6 and TQ3. They are absolutely massive. The cases here are about the same size as a typical yoke case. That's how big they are. Now, I don't think there's any need for that. In fact, they're actually quite light and easy to move around, despite that physical heft. I think, though, the physical heft does lend them a trait which is actually quite cool. They are supplied with sticky pads, which you can fit to the bottom of each base. When those sticky pads are fitted, they actually don't move. So it's quite likely you won't need to buy the side mounting clamps for either of these units, which is very cool. Now, in terms of features, they're almost identical. The Th2 over here, the 6-axis thing, is designed for multi-engine, or in particular twin-engine aircraft. So you have 2 throttle levers, 2 prop levers, and 2 mixture levers. You also have a flap button here, which you can flick up and down to raise or lower the flaps. You have a gear knob over here, and on the front you have a switch, although some of the pictures on the website show a rolly wheel, which is for rudder trim. The reason this one has rudder trim and this one does not is that if you wish to simulate engine out operations, you need to trim the aircraft. If you lose the left engine, for example, you're going to need to trim the aircraft to compensate for the yaw that the right engine is going to create. That's why this one has a rudder trim on the front. The Th3, the 3-axis system, used for single-engine aircraft like typical Cessnas, does not have a rudder trim, kind of doesn't need it. It does have a flap button though, and it does have a gear knob. Both of these units connect to your computer via USB. There is a USB 2 socket on the back, not 3. You don't need any fanciness to connect these to your machine. And that's it. They operate just as any other Windows game controller. So what are these like in use? Well, they're actually very similar to each other, although obviously this one has more levers than this one. The levers feel very solid and very smooth, and actually a feature that I really like about both of these units is that there are no electronics in this front bubble. All the electronics are here. So if you live in a dusty environment or an environment with a lot of pet hair, I have both living here in Florida with air conditioning and 2 large dogs, you're not going to run into trouble with the bane of all simulated throttle quadrants, which is spiking. There's no way that dust can get into the sensors of these things and make them periodically spike and become unreliable. I really like that. But other than that, in use, these feel just like any other throttle quadrant. They are very smooth, the responses are very linear, they're easy to work with, the controls feel very positive. You have metal shafts on the actual levers and solid plastic knobs on the top. You have a friction control also on both of them, which lets you adjust the friction of each unit. No real problems. Now let's take a look at the good and the bad of these. I'll start with the good. First of all, that physical heft is a good thing because these don't move on your desk. You can use these and get quite physical with them without them sliding around your desk, which means you don't need to physically clamp them to your desk. A bane that I have is having to clamp controls to my desk. It's actually a real pain, and it puts me off using controllers. That's positive number 1. Positive number 2, the fact that you have a flap lever and you have a gear lever on both of these units and rudder trim. I really, really like that. I don't know why more high-end manufacturers don't provide those vital controls alongside the throttles. So positive number 2. The negatives, actually the physical heft again. If you have a small desk, these aren't going to fit very well. I have a small desk. In fact, I don't. I have a pretty big desk, but I have a very large monitor. Putting these on the desk alongside the yoke that goes with them it's a bit of a nightmare. It's like playing Tetris with simulated controls. They don't fit very well on any normal sized desk. Now it is worth noting that these clamps do allow you to position any of the Redbird alloy range above your desk or under your desk. However, the downside is either way you're losing desk space. With the clamp underneath the desk, then the unit itself is on top of your desk, so you've lost desk space there. With the clamp on top of the desk, well, obviously you have this huge metal bracket here sticking out above your desk, and the clamp making your desk unusable again. Fault number one. Fault number two, neither of these throttle quadrants have detents, which means if I take the props here and start sliding them backwards, there is no physical detent to tell me I'm about to hit zero, and there is no motion into reverse. Similarly, there's no motion to fuel cutoff or prop feather. Same on the TH3 over here. There are no detents to let you program or detect when you're going from zero to cutoff and feather and mixture cutoff and so on. That's a bit of a negative for me. So overall, what do I think? Now I'm very lucky in that I get to use products across the entire price range, from the likes of Cytec and CH products all the way up to GoFlight, Virtual Fly, and now of course Redbird. Now I would say that these compete directly with Virtual Fly, a company I'm extremely fond of. Full disclaimer, Virtual Fly's US distributor is the sponsor of this channel, Jetline Systems. Now that aside, my view of these is pretty unbiased. There is no clear winner between these and Virtual Fly. The positives that the Virtual Fly have going for them are that they are a lot smaller. The units are a lot less imposing when placed on your desk. The addition of Hall sensors makes them incredibly accurate as well. But they're more expensive. Second of all, the Virtual Fly ones do not have gear levers and flap levers, which makes these a winner. So overall, these are cheaper, a little bit, not a great deal, a little bit cheaper than the Virtual Fly ones. They do have extra buttons than the Virtual Fly ones. If you can put up with the physical heft that these take up on your desk, then I would highly recommend you go for these. That's it. Leave me a comment in the comment section below on your views on these high-end controllers from Redbird, and look out for more videos covering the rest of the range, in particular the yoke, the Vernio throttle system, and the rudder pedals. As always, my name is Froogle. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.